Good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome to your early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, here with some words of wisdom to start your day off well. And we have an interesting reading today. I'm going to be interested to see what kind of feedback I get from all of you on this one. Might be a little controversial for some, but what I would hope is that we all just take a breath and truly consider the words, what he's saying, as an opportunity to stretch our thinking. I have a friend, Flo, who is in her 80s, and for I think it was 15 years, she taught a Bible study at her church, and there was one man in her Bible study who was pretty diametrically opposed to a lot of the things that she was teaching, and he came up to her at one point and he said, "You know, Flo, I don't always agree with what you have to say, but you certainly make us think." And I thought that is quite the compliment, quite the compliment. Good morning to whomever popped on. I see that we have a 1 on our counter, but nobody's name has rolled yet. So we'll see how well the counter keeps up with who's here. I also want to say that tomorrow I'll still be doing this from here tomorrow. And then I am leaving for a 4-day retreat with my beloved coffee group. And not sure how the signal will be there. I'll take stuff along and see if I can get it actually on my Facebook business page at least. But hopefully, if I take my computer along, my laptop, I can actually get it posted to the other sites as well. If not, there might be a couple of day hiatus until I'm back home on Wednesday. So, yeah, let's do some breathing and a little tapping just to prepare ourselves for some stuff that might stretch our thinking, which I think is always a good thing. We have this amazing brain in our head, and if we want to maintain its health, we need to stretch it once in a while. Good morning, Barb. Glad you're here. You're the first one popping on where I actually see a name, so glad you're here. And again, hello to whoever popped on before Barb, but I don't see a name rolling. So good morning, good morning. So this reading today is an opportunity to practice stretching our thought processes. But let's start with opening to receiving and grounding to Mother Earth. So tapping and some breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose. Hold the top, out through the mouth. Grounding through your feet and the base of your spine into Mother Earth so that you're centered, grounded, solid. Ready to receive this message and make your own discernments about these words. You don't have to buy anything hook, line, and sinker, and in fact, I certainly hope you don't. My goal, good morning, Gwen, hope you're feeling better today. My hope is that you allow this to expand your awareness. Yeah, why do I believe that? Why am I espousing this when I haven't really thought about it? That's an interesting point. How do I dovetail that with what I already believe? Etc., etc. So, our opportunity for today is coming from Saving God from Religion, a minister's search for faith in a skeptical age. Good morning, Barb. Welcome. We've got 3 of you, 4 of you on here. Good morning, Jonelle. Hello to Kennedy. Glad she's here. And let's share with Kennedy, part of the Sistine Chapel. And these hands on that ceiling are so large that this little gap between the fingertips is actually 6 feet across. When I went to the Sistine Chapel, first of all, I was amazed at how little a building it is. It's kind of a modest looking building. I was also amazed that they have an official shusher. That is his job. He stands there and he goes, "Shh, silencio," over and over and over again, all day long. All day long. And you're not allowed to take pictures there. And if they catch you taking pictures, they take your camera away. So don't do it. Don't do it. So part of this book was talking about a dream. Well, this is by Robin R. Meyers, who is a minister in Oklahoma. He's been at the same church for 35 years. And good morning, Diane. Glad you are here. Thank you for hauling my butt to... I have to drop my vehicle off for several days for repairs, and taking Diane out to breakfast because she's willing to pick me up and bring me home. So his gist is that we need to kind of do a revamp. Good morning, Maureen. Glad you're here. On our beliefs and our religions specifically. So that's why it's titled Saving God from Religion. What I'm going to read to you, children, is the epilogue, the very end of the book, where he kind of sums up what he's asking for us to consider. And I just thought this was such interesting stuff. And for some of the people who watch this, good morning, Mel, glad you're here. For some of the people who watch this, many of the things that are happening, that are being talked about here, John Lennon, Vietnam War, etc., are history to you. That's all they are, is history. Whereas for some of us, this is actually the early part of our lives. We lived this stuff. So puts a little different context on things. So let's see what you think about this. Nice deep breath in and out. Above us, only sky. You might say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. John Lennon and Yoko Ono from the song Imagine. One of the most beloved and controversial songs ever written is John Lennon's Imagine. It was written at the height of the Vietnam War, when America was almost as divided as it is right now. Now, this book was published in 2020. Here we are 6 years hence, even more divided. The chords in the lyrics are a dream, but they call for us to imagine a world at peace without religion. Not surprisingly, critics on the right called Lennon an atheist, and performances of the song have been banned around the world, most recently in Pakistan, where grammar school students were forbidden to sing it. The song questions our belief in God and encourages an atheist mindset, said a prominent columnist. The school is run by an Englishman, and that is where the problem lies. Whatever one thinks of Lennon or of schools run by the British, the impact of this song has been enormous. Good morning, Nancy. Glad you are here. Welcome. Paul David Hewson, also known as Bono, said that Imagine was the reason for his career. After the horrific terrorist attack in Paris in 2015, pianist David Martello drove 400 miles from Germany so that he could play Imagine outside the Bataclan Theater. That's where the bombing was, I believe. Former President Jimmy Carter said that as he traveled around the world, he heard the song Imagine used almost equally with national anthems. Strange when you consider that it asks us to imagine a world without countries or war. As for imagining no possessions, critics pointed out that Lennon drove a custom-painted Rolls-Royce, and so he altered the lyrics to ask that we imagine no possessions. I wonder if we can. He was including himself in that. Good morning, Beth. Glad you are here. He also sang about the brotherhood, sisterhood of man in later renditions as a recovering chauvinist, admitting that Yoko Ono should have been given equal billing for the song since it was inspired by her book, Grapefruit. Nevertheless, the real controversy was his assertions that above us there is only sky, and that the world would be better off with no religion. In the early 70s, Lennon was approached by the World Church and asked to change no religion to one religion, but he refused. Obviously, the stakes are high. Imagine calls for us to start over, not just make over the orthodoxies of our time. The song suggests that we imagine ridding ourselves of those things that are most important to us and deeply at the root of violence and war. Nation states, religions, and possessions, a toxic trifecta that deals unending misery and death. Of course, one can say that Imagine is just another naive, utopian exercise in hopeless hyperbole, birthed in a haze of drugs, free love, and sticking it to the man. But the same could be said of the words of Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount. Does he not ask us to stop worrying about food, clothing, or possessions? Was this also just a naive utopian exercise in hopeless hyperbole, birthed in a haze of baffling parables, free healing, and sticking it to the emperor? The call of Jesus to consider the lilies is a call not to look up, but to look around. And he repeats that throughout the book. Stop looking up. Look around. Look around. There is nothing that we need above us. We should be mindful of the feast before us. Abundance is the true nature of creation. Scarcity is the empire's propaganda. What's more, Imagine is not a manifesto. It is a call to consider what we often think we are not allowed to consider. When asked whether he was an atheist, Lenin responded that he was not anti-Christ or anti-religion. Indeed, he said that he believed in God, but not as one thing, not as an old man in the sky. Thank you for that. He pointed out that he never said, imagine there's no God. So when he called for us to imagine no religion, he meant religion as a system of creeds and doctrines with a long blood-soaked history of oppression and holy wars. Even so, the song was meant to be iconoclastic, if not blasphemous, just like his song Instant Karma, in which your brother is everyone you meet. Or in the case of this book, your brother, where God is in all of us. God is all of us. To be clear, this does not amend the God of orthodoxy. Hear this again. This is really interesting. To be clear, this does not amend the God of orthodoxy. It replaces it with a God that is more expansive, mysterious, immediate, and mystical. A God who does not hand out favors or grant land or punish evildoers or take sides in a war. The loss of such a deity poses an existential threat to the religious franchise. Isn't that a great word to use there? The religious franchise. Yet our survival now depends upon the death of Michelangelo's God. He cannot be put back together, much less reattached to the ceiling of a world that no longer exists. At a point early in the book, he talks about having had a dream where the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel falls down, and that the powers that be in the faith community held him responsible for that falling. Besides, if this reimagining of God seems blasphemous, then what would you call turning the other cheek or praying for our enemies? On the 30th anniversary of John Lennon's death, an article in the American Conservative called for people to stop imagining. What could be worse, its author opined, than a dream of no countries, no possessions, and no religion? Perhaps the answer to that question is exactly the world we find ourselves in now. Rising nationalism, rising inequality, and rising sectarian violence. Conventional religious belief and practice is a powerful habit, so powerful that we cannot imagine giving it up. We cannot imagine life without a heavenly monarch. Western civilization, founded on original sin and exclusive salvation, is such a powerful major premise, such a long-running and successful play, that we cannot imagine that the show will ever end and the curtain will come down. But it is coming down. And besides, the audience is full of empty seats. Doesn't that take on an ironic tone right now? This is not Chicken Little syndrome. The sky god really is falling. So where do we go from here? Is there religion after God has fallen off the ceiling? The answer for me is a resounding yes. What's more, the systemic implications of a theology of consequence could make the church not only relevant again, but a powerful source of wisdom and transformation. Once we admit that God has mostly been made in the image of humans, we will know exactly what the novelist Gertrude Stein meant when she wrote about Oakland, California, that there is no there. Though this is often misunderstood as an insult, Stein was referring to what had changed about the town she lived in as a child. She had moved away as a teenager and did not return for almost 45 years. When she did return, it was a city 10 times larger than the community she remembered. She went looking for her childhood home, and it was no longer there. Her comment was not commentary about Oakland per se, but about lost innocence and the pain that comes from knowing that, as Thomas Wolfe put it, you can't go home again. The time has come to admit the same for organized religion. You can't go home again, and there is no God there. We live in an age of science. Instead of fearing this explosion of knowledge, which certainly is getting squelched right now, is it not? Why not consider it a blessing? Who is to say that research is not also a form of adoration? While pre-scientific humans located God in what they believed to be the dome of heaven, science has revealed a universe where all the rooms are expanding and where all things are part of one thing, capital O-T, one thing. If this is true, then the whole theological enterprise must be reconsidered. Listen to these. These are so awesome. We are not lost and needing to be found. Rather, we are deluded and needing to be enlightened. We are isolated and need to be reunited. We are not helpless, hopeless, undeserving creatures in search of divine rescue. We are remarkable, hopeful, deserving creatures in search of our true identity. Singer-songwriter Joni Mitchell had it exactly right. We are stardust, we are golden, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. I just thought that was such powerful stuff, a way to rethink, a way to bring some resolution to the upheaval and the discord and the division that's happening right now. So hopefully what comes out of this is some ponderings about this, some discussions with others who are willing to go there, to have deep conversations. Not the weather talkers. Not the weather talkers. Find the people who are willing to have a deep conversation with you about this stuff. Hey, I heard this really interesting thing this morning. You want to hear about it? Let's get coffee. We are so in need of change. And yet there are so many people who fear change. They want predictability. They want certainty. Tony Robbins talks about that need for certainty, how it sets us up to be unhappy and stuck and fearful. And so he talks about embracing uncertainty, reveling in uncertainty. I wonder how that's going to turn out, as my friend Lynn Schuster always says. So, for today, I'd like you to ponder some of this stuff. Imagine. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you are capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.